Namaste everyone. Thanks for joining Hindi University. Good morning to all of you. Really excited to have all of you in the Hindi class. If you remember, in the last class we started a new session, which is scenario-based learning. Right, scenario-based language learning. In the last class, we picked up a topic in which, we spoke about, how do you deal with the situations if you're in a train station in India. In this class, the scenario-based learning topic that we have is like, talking about your family. So imagine yourself, communicating to a person or a Hindi speaker, and you want to, converse with them in Hindi about their family and their friends. How do you do that, right? So first, let's just sort of like list all the things you want to talk about, your family. And I'm going to write down simple things, and feel free to, write down on the chat box other things that you want to cover, when you want to, speak with someone. So in general, a few things that comes to my mind when you want to talk about your family is, you want to first sort of like, tell everyone uh, you know, about your family, where they are from, like, the city they are from, right? About their names, probably their age, and, what do they do? So basically their profession, their interest of your family members, right? Values, right? Similarly, you want to talk about some, interesting things. So these are some of the things that immediately come to my mind, and I think these are valuable things for you when you want to talk to someone about your family. Um, if you can think of something else, also feel free to write it down, and I'm going to cover those as well, right? So with that, we'll start with like the very basics about the family, and then we'll, as always, we'll build it up incrementally. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about like city first, right? I mean, the first thing, when you're meeting someone, you want to ask them where you are from, right? On the other hand, you can also ask them like, where is your family from? Where is your family from, right? So I'll take a quick pause here to see if you can sort of attempt it, right? Try to see if you can like break it down and come up with a Hindi phrase for it. If not, we'll cover it regardless, right? So let's just give it a thought and see if you can, translate that into Hindi. Okay, Yon, you want to try it out as well? Pay attention here, Liz. I think your sentence is correct. You just forgot one pronoun, your. Okay. So here's the thing. Where is kaha? Okay. Your is आपका और आपकी और आपके. Okay. Family is, you can use either family or you can say परिवार. परिवार. And then from is a postposition, which means say. Okay, and is, as you know, it will be towards the end, you will be using to be form of the word, which is है. So if you combine all of it, it will be आपका परिवार कहाँ से है. आपका परिवार कहाँ से है. Simple, right? So I want you to write down the answer in Hindi and then we'll cover it as well. But I'll take a quick 30-second pause and I want you to sort of write down the answer of it. Okay. Very good. Yon, you want to give it a try? Okay, awesome. Now this is the question, right? Now let's see how will you write down the answer of it. You'll say my family is from and then the name of the country, right? So that will be मेरा परिवार or मेरी family, right? मेरा परिवार. So it's interesting, right? Family is considered feminine, whereas you write परिवार, it's masculine. So that's why when you're using family, you write मेरी. When you use परिवार, you write मेरा, right? So you say मेरा परिवार. In my case, I'll say India से है, right? And depending upon where your family is from. So for example, Yon said मेरी family पेरू से है, right? Or you can say मेरी family or मेरा परिवार, or simply if you want to say our basically rather than my, if you want to say our family, so हमारा परिवार, like some of you wrote America से है. हमारा परिवार अमेरिका से है. Good. Okay, so let's get going. So this is, if you want to talk to someone about your family, where they're from, this is the phrase you want to use, and also you want to use this phrase to ask them about their family as well, right? It's a very good, starter for your communication. So that's number one thing I wanted to cover. Next thing, when we're talking to someone, you usually ask them about members, right? So let's first write down in English how many members are there in your family. Okay, As always, I want to quiz you first. So, here you are. You have 30 seconds or a minute to, you know, to sort of like, reflect on the sentence and, write down in Hindi. Okay. Break it down, right? You have how many? You have members, and you have your family, and you have in, right? So if I were to break it down, I'll say your family is anyone? Let's think about this one first. Your family. Okay, very good. आपका परिवार. If you just want to say your family independently, it's आपका परिवार. But when you're using a post position, it becomes an oblique case, right? In is may, right? May. So as I said, when you're saying your family is आपका परिवार, but when you're using a post position after that, आपका becomes आपके. So it will be आपके परिवार में, right? Now, how many? How many is? Let's see if you guys know the interrogatives here. How many would be? कितने? Very good. So it would be कितना, कितनी, and कितने, based on the the gender, कितने, right? And members would be, either you can say members or you can say सदस्य. So it's the, half sir, and then year. सदस्य. Or you can simply say members if it is too difficult to remember. Members, right? And R, as usual, in this case, it would be hai, right? So having sort of like, now we know sort of the breakdown of it, can you write down the entire sentence? Let's attempt it out. Okay, so it's a post position. So the way we'll write it down, I mean, very well try all of you. So I'll write down for you now, and trust me, it will help you much better, after going through this exercise. So it will be आपके परिवार में कितने. So it's a post position. It's coming after the sort of like the noun or the pronoun. में कितने members हैं. आपके परिवार में कितने members हैं और कितने सदस्य हैं. Right? आपके परिवार में कितने members हैं. Now, let's say if you want to say how many um, Hmm. Um, okay. Um, if you want to sort of like find out how many um, elders, right? How do you say elders in Hindi, right? So if you want to say how many elders are there in your family, or only thing you have to change is आपके परिवार में कितने, because it's again masculine plural, right? So for कितने it would remain कितने, either you can say elders, कितने elders हैं, or you can say elders, usually you say बड़े, बड़े लोग, right? बड़े लोग, elder people. Good. Right. So let's see how will you respond to it in, I'll change it back to members, and I'm gonna ask you to write down the answer. कितने सदस्य, आपके परिवार में कितने सदस्य हैं? Now your task is to write down the answer in Hindi. How would you respond to someone, or how would you sort of write down the answer of it in Hindi? So take your time, and then we'll practice that. And it doesn't have to be accurate, right? I mean, you can just make anything. The idea here is to practice Hindi. Very good, right? So your response would be, when you said आपके परिवार में, your response would be my family. So मेरे परिवार में. Now you'll replace कितने with the exact quantity. So you can say छह सदस्य और members हैं. मेरे परिवार में छह सदस्य हैं और छह members हैं. Very good, right? Okay. Now, after that, once you talk about like how many people or how many, members are there in your family, you want to talk about a little bit about them, right? About your mother, about your father. So let's see how we sort of discuss that about them. And that's pretty simple, right? I mean, most of the time you will talk about their name, their age or hobby, right? So you'll say about family. Third one, uh, you will say my father's name is, and then you write down the name, and then similarly my mother's name, and then you talk about your siblings, right? So I'm gonna, again, as always, I'm gonna give you like about a minute to think about how would you sort of like describe your family or about your family members, right? First, sort of like ask question like what's your family member's name, and then we'll jump to the answer as well. So let's first try this one. And take any of them. What's your family member's name? And then we'll jump to the answer. Okay. First, write down the question. Like, let's say you want to find out the name of someone else's, like, family, their, father or mother. Let's first. and then we'll jump to the answer. And Anya's like, I know that you don't have the, you can write down on a piece of a paper all the practice that you're doing, and you can take a picture and send it to me so I can review them. So, I can review your answers that way. Okay. So let's take one of it. So if you remember, usually when we want to find out the name of someone, we say आपका नाम क्या है, which is what's your name, right? Now, if you want to talk about, what's your father's name, it will be आपके, because you want to give respect, right? So it's like आपके papa, or you can say पिताजी का नाम क्या है, right? Similarly, if you want to know about mother, it will be आपकी माताजी और मम्मी का नाम क्या है, right? Now let's see if you want to talk about your brother and sister. So I have for father and mother, you want to talk about your brother and sister. That will be, so write down both of them as well, brother and sister. Just make it up, in this case, it doesn't have to be accurate. We're just practicing it. Very good. So it'll be आपके, for brother भाई का नाम क्या है, and for sister it would be आपकी. You can say either sister or आपकी बहन. बहन का नाम क्या है. Good. So I think this should help you, find out the name of, someone's family members, particularly anyone now, because if you've gone through father, mother, brother and sister, you can very well, talk about their uncle, aunts, cousin, extended family members, anyone, right? So now I'll quickly go over, the answers of these things, so that way, you can respond as well, right? So let's talk about. Right. So let's say you want to say father, right? So you can just say that मेरे. So आपके father will be मेरे father, और मेरे पिताजी और मेरे पापा. पापा का नाम I think है, right? So I mean you can say John. Let's say मेरे पापा का नाम John है, right? Um, for mother it'll be, you can say मेरी मम्मी का नाम, here you can write down the name, है. And for the sake of example, I can say, let's say I can write Meera, है, right? Similarly, I want you to write down for brother and sister so you can practice as well. And, so write down the answers for your brother and sister. Then we'll talk about, siblings basically right after that. Very good, right? So you can say मेरे भाई का नाम, you can say as you said Mike है, right? Or similarly, if you want to write down about your sister, मेरी बहन और बहन का नाम. In this case, I'll just make it a Paula है, right? Good. So I'll remove it and I'll talk about what if you just have like two brothers or one brother, or how do you respond to those? So we'll cover those as well, right? So what if somebody is asking you how many siblings you have, right? That's essentially is the question, right? How many? So it's still part of three about family. How many siblings do you have? So first we'll write down this thing in Hindi, the question in Hindi, and we will respond to it. And we learn to respond like I have just one brother, or I just have one sister, or I don't have any brothers and sisters. I'm the only son. Right? How do you respond to all those kind of scenarios? So first, let's see if you can sort of ask this particular phrase in Hindi. How many siblings do you have? Okay, very good, very good. You want to give it a try as well? Okay, so it's almost right. I mean, you'll say, um, आपके कितने, you can either say siblings हैं, आपके कितने siblings हैं. Remember, we said आपके परिवार में कितने members हैं. So कितना is coming before the thing that you want to inquire, right? कितने siblings. So you can say आपके परिवार. Sorry, I forgot may. How many siblings do you have? Sorry, actually it's correct. आपके कितने siblings हैं? If somebody is asking you in your family, then you can say आपके परिवार में कितने siblings हैं? In this case, how many siblings do you have? So it would be आपके कितने siblings हैं? Or you can say आपके कितने. For siblings, you can say भाई बहन. आपके कितने भाई बहन हैं? Right, so you can simply say the word bhai bahan in for siblings. Okay, so now let's learn to respond like this particular answer. So let's say if it is just like, one brother, you'll say मेरा एक भाई है. मेरा एक भाई है, right? For plural, you will say मेरे दो भाई हैं. Good. Now let's see how will I write down for sister. You want to write both of them for sister. How do you say that? Okay. What about two? Okay. So it was a trick question. The only thing which is changing here is like because brother is masculine, you use mera. Okay. And it will help you now to correct it for good. So you'll say for sister, you'll say मेरी एक बहन है. So this one is masculine singular, masculine plural. Right? This is feminine singular. And even when you're talking about more, right? It remains the same. मेरी दो बहिनें हैं. So that's feminine plural. That remains the same. So I hope this distinction is clear. I wanted to sort of like, I wanted you to write it down so that way, you don't have any confusion, right? So it's mera for masculine singular, mere for masculine plural, meri for feminine singular, and meri for feminine plural, right? Even if you have pets, right? You can use the same format. Even if you want to talk about your pets, if you're very close to your pet, right? Now, what if you have one brother and one sister? How will you write it down? Let's try to attempt it. How will you write it down? So let me remove this one so that way. And there's a reason I'm asking you this question because Hindi follows different kind of like rules here. So first is like you want to talk about your brother and your sister. Same thing if you want to talk about your sister first. One sister and one brother. Give it a try. There's no negative marking here. Okay, so the first one, when you want to write about your brother first, so you'll say मेरा एक भाई और एक बहन है, right? When you're talking, but similarly when you're talking about your sister first, you'll say मेरी एक बहन और एक भाई है, right? So when you're talking about brother, you'll start with मेरा, right? When you're talking about your sister, you'll talk about मेरी first, right? I hope this is clear, right? Now let's talk about, having gone through it, let's talk about how do you say elder brother, elder sister, younger brother, younger sister, right? So I hope this part is clear. Now, So next topic that I want to cover, same thing about family. You want to talk about elder brother, and then um, brother, and then similarly elder sister and sisters if you have more than one sister, and then same thing for younger brother, brothers, and then similarly for younger sister and sisters. So what I'm gonna do, like before, I'm gonna take a pause here, and I'm gonna, give you the opportunity to write them down in Hindi, right? And I think it should be fairly easy for you because you've been, so far you've been doing really, really well. So try it out, and then, we'll go through the answers. Okay, very good. Okay, um, it's fine. So in this case, I'm simply asking you, how do you write elder brother and elder brothers, right? So let's try that first. So elder, as you know, if you are talking about singular, it would be bada bhai, right? So it's bada ba and then da with a, bada bhai, right? And if you want to talk about brothers, even this adjective changes, right? So this is adjective bada, but when it is plural, even your adjectives are inflected. So it would be bade bhai. So that is bade ba with the and then a, bade bhai, right? So bada bhai and bade bhai. Okay, right? Bada bhai and bade bhai. Now, what about sister? So let's talk about actually, for while we have the brother, why don't we just cover the. So similarly, I want to quiz you here. How do you say younger? How do you say younger brother and younger brothers? Okay. So just to tell you, it will be chota that I will be using for masculine. So give it a try one more time. Very good. And for brothers, okay, good. So I'll say chota. Just for simplicity, probably I'll write two H's here. Chota. So chota bhai, and then you write chote bhai for plural, right? So it will be chota bhai for singular, and for plural it will be chote bhai. Very good, right? Now, having gone through it, so for masculine how it is working for singular and plural. Even we are changing the adjective. right? Now, same thing will go for sisters. So let's talk about younger first, while I have written it down. Younger sister and sisters, and then we'll talk about elder sister and sisters. Very good, right? So it'll be choti. So it becomes choti for sister, right? Feminine. So it will be choti bahin. It will be choti. Choti bahin. What about plural? Okay, so plural it remains the same. You still say choti, choti bahine. So it's cho and then t, and then for plural you write pa, ha, and then ne, bahine. Choti bahine, right? Okay. Um, I hope this is good so far. Yeah. Now let's jump into what do they do? Well, so far we've covered many things about the family. Now let's talk about, like, what if somebody wants to know the interest or the profession of your family member, right? So let's start about, like, let's say work. What do they do, right? What do um, what do they do? So let's see, if you want to just translate this thing as it is in Hindi, how will you sort of like, and this is like um, generic sentence for all the family members, right? And then we can get into specifics, like, what do your, like, what does your father do, or what does your mother do, or, and similarly for siblings. But somebody is really asking you a generic question, what do they do, right? How will you sort of ask this thing in Hindi? Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. Very good. Right. So as you know, it's kya for what, right? Do is, to do is karna. For day, it's way. Actually, so this do will be karna. So as you guys, most of you rightly pointed out, it'll be वे क्या करते हैं. That's one way. And then, as you guys pointed out, it would be, if you're saying, like, what do you do, right? You can also say वे लोग क्या करते हैं, right? Or, and as Yon pointed out, आप लोग क्या करते हैं? That's absolutely correct. Especially if you're directly talking to someone's family, like, you see the family in front of you and you want to ask them, what do you guys do, right? So आप लोग क्या करते हैं? That's correct. You can also say, like, in which profession you are in, which is something Liz mentioned, like, किस काम में है, किस काम में इन्वॉल्व है, मे बी, or something like, किस business में है. You can ask this as well, right? I think it would be more appropriate if they are doing something business. किस business में है. That's correct as well, right? वे किस business में है. Okay. Um, Give me a minute. And so I want you to write down the answers of this thing first. Like if somebody's asking you in a generic way, what does your family, do, or what do they do, right? How will you respond to it? So I'm gonna let you sort of like, come up with the answer first, and then I'm gonna, help you, break it down in Hindi. Question was kiss. Kiss in this case would be which, right? Right. So let's say, how would you respond to it? वे लोग क्या करते हैं, right? Okay, yeah. So you can say, and I'm just going to give you a template. You can simply say, my father is, let's say, an engineer, right? My mother, she is a social worker. Similarly, you want to say it about your siblings as well. So this is just like a template, right? Okay. So how will you respond to it, right? So one option, as you said, if you want to, if both of them are in medical, right? If both of them are in medicine, you can say, मेरा परिवार, simple, right? If you want to just simply say, medicine or particular field, right? I mean, you can simply say, particular field में है, or as Liz pointed out, banking में है, right? Banking में काम करता है और banking में है. They are in banking, or they work in the banking sector, right? However, if I want to sort of like write them down separately, I'll say, my father is an engineer. मेरे पिताजी और मेरे पापा इंजीनियर हैं, right? और मेरी मम्मी और मेरी माताजी, मेरी मम्मी, social worker. Either you can say social worker or you can say समाज सेविका. समाज सेविका है, समाज सेविका है, right? Now you can write down the same thing for your brother and sister as well, right? Or your son and daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, no limit, right? I mean, so let's say you want to talk about I'm going to give you the quizzes for you to write down for your any other two members, one male, one female, so that way you can practice it, right? You can, example would be brother or sister. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'll cover it and answer your question as well. So you can say मेरा भाई अकाउंटेंट है, राइट, एंड मेरी बहन, एज यू सम ऑफ यू राइट रिटन इट डाउन, नर्स है, और मेरी बहन पढ़ती है, शी स्टडीज, right? Question is like, studying, how do you say studying, right? So to study is padhna, right? Or if you want to say my sister is studying, it would be पढ़ रही है, or पढ़ रहा और रही or रहे, depending on whether it's a masculine or feminine, right? पढ़ रही और पढ़ रहा, right? School is sort of like vidyalaya, um, or simply you can say school. So having gone through this particular section, now the last one is like, you want to say something interesting about your family members, like about the values or about what interests them, right, outside work. So that part will cover now. And I think that those are the five basic things you want to like, talk in your first conversation, right? I mean, the fifth one is basically the general interests. So general interests are things like, uh, so simple things like, we like for example, traveling. Our family likes to travel, or they like to, watch movies. Um, right? Um, they don't like, sort of like, they like a clean place, something like that, right? Or they don't like a messy place, do not like unorganized place. So general things you want to talk about your family. How do you say that, right? So that's pretty much I'm going to cover in the last 10 minutes or so we have, right? So I'm not going to ask you questions here because in the interest of time, I'm going to give you the answers, right? So the thing is like um, the question would be, what does your family like? Let's say somebody's asking you this question. What do they like, or what does your family like? Right? The question would be, and you can practice with me as I'm writing it down because that will also make you think, right? आपके परिवार को क्या पसंद है? आपके परिवार को क्या पसंद है? That's the question you will be asking to someone to find out interest of their family, right? Or somebody will be asking you if they want to find out interest of your family, right? So as I mentioned, let's say, so you want to respond to it as we. We like to travel, right? And I'm gonna remove it now. So first thing is like we like to travel, and as you guys probably are thinking, in the same line, it will be हमें घूमना. घूमना is to travel, right? हमें घूमना पसंद है. हमें घूमना पसंद है और हमें वेकेशन पसंद है. um, okay, as you pointed out, right, the values, right? हम वेजिटेरियन वेजिटेरियन है or you can say vegetarian is shakahari, right? So it would be shakahari hai, right? Right. So हमें घूमना पसंद है. If you want to say we are vegetarian, it's like हम शाकाहारी हैं, right? Um, and you want to say we like to watch movies. We like to watch movies together. So I made it a little bit interesting. To watch is देखना, right? So it'll be हमें. So if you want to simply say, forget about together. If you want to say we like to watch movies, it'll be हमें movies or film movies देखना पसंद है, right? Um, if you want to say together, it would be हमें. Together is साथ साथ और साथ में हमें साथ में मूवीज देखना पसंद है. We like to watch movies together, right? And let's say you don't like um, uncleanly place, right? How do you say that? We do not like uncleanly place, or we like a clean place. Uh, so we do not like a messy place or unclean place, or you like cleanliness. हमें. So uncleanliness is gandagi, right? Or it's a messy gandagi, gandagi, right? Or dirt. Gand, g half na the and then gi, gandagi पसंद नहीं है. हमें गंदगी पसंद नहीं है. और you can say हमें सफाई. सफाई is cleanliness. हमें सफाई पसंद है. हमें सफाई पसंद है. सफाई is cleanliness. Cleanliness. और as you pointed out, हमें साफ घर पसंद है. That's absolutely correct. Okay. Now, if you want to sort of highlight the accomplishment of your brother and sister. So let's say you want to say my brother, he plays a very good guitar. How do you say that, right? And so in this case, you are like my brother plays guitar. My brother plays guitar very good, very well, right? Or my sister, or my younger sister, it's very chatty, like a small sister, let's say, right? She talks a lot. How do you say that, right? So these are sort of like some interesting things you want to talk about your family. How do you say that in Hindi, right? Or or you want to say um, my aunt from Lucknow is very frugal. How do you say all these things, right? So I'll keep it short. And as some of you already pointed out, right? I mean, so so the first one would be, and I'm gonna write it here, मेरा भाई. So if you want to say simply guitar बजाता है, he play the guitar. गिटार बजाता है. To play is khelna, but when you're playing an instrument is bajana, right? And you will say मेरा भाई बहुत अच्छा गिटार बजाता है. My brother plays guitar very well. So मेरा भाई बहुत अच्छा गिटार बजाता है, right? Now let's say you want to say my sister is very chatty. How do you say that? So she speaks a lot or she talks a lot, right? In a good way, right? I mean, so you want to say मेरी बहन बहुत बोलती है. She talks a lot, right? मेरी बहन बहुत बोलती है, right? And the last one, my aunt from Lucknow is very frugal, right? If you remember, and purposely I'm using this one, aunt from Lucknow. How do you say that, right? If you remember, in one of the class we spoke about how to use wala, wali, or wale, right? We always use, like, if you remember, in chai wala, or rickshaw wala, or doodh wala, right? For aunt, she's a feminine, right? I mean, so it would be Lucknow wali, Lucknow wali, right? So it'll be मेरी लखनऊ वाली aunt, or you can say मौसी, right? मौसी बहुत frugal, I'm just gonna write कंजूस है, कंजूस है. Or if you want to say she's very hardworking, you can say मेरी लखनऊ वाली मौसी बहुत हार्ड वर्किंग है और बहुत मेहनती है, right? मेहनती, मेहनती is hard working. That's right. So aunt is, in this case I'm referring to aunt from your mother's side. That's why it's mausi, right? If aunt is from your father's side, it's bua, right? So you're right about it. It will be bua in that case. So with that, I'm gonna sort of, like, open it up for any panel discussion. So folks who are watching live on YouTube, thank you so much for joining the session. As always, we will be meeting next Sunday at 10 a.m. It'll be free of charge, and your ideas are always welcome. Please share the next scenario that you'd like to cover, and I'll make sure that I simplify it in a way that you can use it in your day-to-day life. Thanks again, and I'll open it up for folks who are watching.